in this video we're going to be looking at both multiplying numbers in standard form and dividing numbers in standard form. So first we're going to start off with multiplying numbers in standard form. Now before we jump ahead into these three questions here, one thing that we do need to know is the law of indices. So when we are multiplying numbers by the same base, so by the same base I mean, let's say for example 10 here. If I do 10 to the 3 times 10 to the 2, this here is the same base, so 10 and 10, that's what's known as a base, and of course these two numbers at the top of each of these numbers are known as powers. Now when the two bases are the same, so they are the same here, they're both 10, you can simply add the powers, so it simply becomes 10 to the 3 plus 2, which equals 10 to the 5. Now just briefly, and I'll do a separate video on this to explain it thoroughly, why it's 10 to the 5 is as follows. Because 10 to the 3 does not mean 10 times 3, it means there are 3 lots of 10 multiplying with each other, so 10 times 10 times 10, okay? And this next one means 10 times 10, and when we are collecting these, we are simply saying how many 10s do we have. So we have 1 here, 2, 3, 4 and 5, hence 10 to the power of 5. Okay, I'll be doing a separate video on that to prove and show you why that rule exists, but just for this video, if you don't know it already, take it as when you're multiplying powers, just take it as you add the indices. Okay, so we'll just get rid of this and we'll start with the first question. Okay, so for A we've got 3 times 10 to the 2 times 2 times 10 to the 5. So questions like these will get slightly harder where you'll have to change them from not standard form into standard form before we can do this step. But all of these questions here, seeing as this is the introduction, all of these numbers are in standard form. So by that I mean the first number is between 1 and less than 10. So for question A, what we need to do is we need to split what we need to multiply. So I'm going to rewrite this as 3 times 2. So I'm going to get these two numbers together. Okay, and then I'm going to write 10 to the 2 times 10 to the 5. We can put times there as well, just to be consistent. So underline it like so. Then what we can do is we can simply multiply. So 3 times 2 will give us 6. We've still got our times here. Then we've got 10 to the 2 times 10 to the 5. So remember what I said, you've got powers, you add the indices when they're multiplied. So 10 to the 2 plus 5 will give us 10 to the 7. Therefore the answer will be 6 times 10 to the 7. Okay, and that's our answer done for A. So there we go. Right, if we go on to question B now, and if you think that's easy enough, pause this video now and then see if you get this next one right. Okay, so first step, even if you know how to do this, always write it out and demonstrate your working. It's a good habit to get into. So 5 times 4 times 10 to the 3 times 10 to the 7. 5 times 4 is 20 times, and then we can write 3 plus 7, and I can just go down a line, 20 times 10 to the 3 plus 7, which is 10, and this is our answer. Now we have a problem, because remember what I said at the beginning, this number here is not in standard form, is it? Because it's 20. Remember, standard form must be between 1 and less than 10. So to convert this from a non-standard format into standard form, we're going to have to adjust this slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this 2. Okay, so I'm going to take this decimal point and put it here, and because I've gone one left, so I've made the left number smaller, I must make the right hand number, so this times 10 to the power of 1 bigger, so times 10 to the 11. Again, I'll have another video on that explaining why that is, so for now just take it as that. Right, and if we have a look at our last one, C, we've got 8 times 10 to the minus 2 times 6 times 10 to the 7. So again, rewrite 8 times 6 and then times 10 to the minus 2 times 10 to the 7. Okay, so 8 times 6 is 48. And then we have times 10 to the minus 2 plus 7. So now we do minus 2 plus 7, which will give us 5. So we have 48 times 10 to the 5. Okay, now apparently this is our answer, but we need to double check that. And of course it isn't, because it's 48. Remember, standard form needs to be 1 and less than 10. I know I've said that multiple times. It's really important you understand that and get that into your head. It must be 1 and less than 10. Okay, it's a very easy trap to fall into, to just leave it like that. So what I will do here is take this decimal point here, move it 1 to the left, which will make it 4.8, which is of course less than 10. And because I've decreased the number, so I've gone from 48 to 4.8, I then have to increase the other side, so it's going to be 4.8 times 10 to the 6. Okay, and then this is actually our answer. So that's multiplying numbers in standard form. Now we're going to move on to dividing numbers in standard form. So I've got a few examples here. Before we jump into them, there is another indice rule that we need to go through just to make sure you understand it. Okay, so it's when you have numbers of the same base. Okay, so again we're going to have 10 to the 3 divided by 10 to the 2. So again, when you have numbers of the same base, so again the base being 10, when you are dividing powers, you subtract the indices. Okay, so this simply converts into 10 to the 3 minus 2, which is 10 to the 1. Okay, so when you are dividing powers, you subtract the indices. Okay, so let me just get this out of the way. And let's start with question D. So what I'm going to do again is rewrite this. So 8 divided by 4 divided by 10 to the 6 divided by 10 to the 3. Okay, so then we do this. So 8 divided by 4 will give us 2. And then 10 to the 6 divided by 10 to the 3. So if you'd like me to rewrite this, I can write 10 to the 6 take away 3. So really break the steps down. 2 divided by 10 to the 3. Now, if we have a look at this, I've written 2 divided by 10 to the 3. So I've done that to stay consistent, to make sure that we're dividing and don't accidentally multiply. However, standard form is always times 10 to the something. And I explained this in a previous video. So we can't have 2 divided by 10 to the 3 as our final answer. Our answer will actually be 2 times 10 to the 3. And this will be our final answer. Okay. Right, so there are remaining 2 questions. Pause the video now, give it a go yourself. I'm going to work through it and see if you get the same answer. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this, 9 divided by 3. And we could always write it in this format, so times in the center. You just have to be very careful. Minus 2 divided by 10 to the 6. So 9 divided by 3 will give us 3. We can bring this times down. Then we have 10 to the minus 2. Remember that divide will mean subtract with indices. 6. So then again 3 times 10 to the, what's minus 2 take away 6. That will leave us with minus 8. And there is our answer. Okay, again as I'm doing this, I'm checking to make sure they're in standard form. This is between 1 and less than 10, and so is the first one that we did. Right, so if we go on to the last question, 2 divided by 8 times 10 to the 3 divided by 10 to the 7. Okay, so if we do 2 divided by 8, it will give us 0.25 times, then we have 10 to the 3, take away 7. Then we will have 0.25 times 10, and then what is 3 take away 7? Minus 4. Now again, before I jump ahead, this is not in standard form, it has to be between 1 and less than 10. So I need to convert this, so I need to take this decimal point and make it 2.5. I can't make it 25, it has to be less than 10, remember, so I'm going to make this 2.5, and now because I've increased that number, so think of it this way, I've gone from 0.25, I've now increased that to 2.5, so that in itself is an entirely different number. What I need to do now is adjust the times 10 to the power of. So because I've increased this number, I have to decrease the power. So how I do that will be times 10 to the minus 5. Now if you're looking at that and thinking that power has increased instead of decreased like I've just said, remember we're talking about minus numbers, so actually going up in the minus is actually getting smaller. Okay, and therefore this will be our final answer. Okay, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you leave a like on the video itself. If you've got any comments about what I did in the video, or any suggestions or any video ideas, leave a comment down below. I would recommend subscribing to the channel because I'll be releasing a lot more videos like this, and you'll be able to get a notification of when I do so.